What about the role of emotion in storytelling, trying to reach in and connect with that emotion? How important is that? An example of what I'm talking about that is I remember the Lance Armstrong ad.
Sure.
A lot of people thought that he was a doper, and there was a Nike commercial that came out.
What am I on? I'm on my bike X amount of hours a day and so on.
And he said, I'm not on my bike for them. They can think whatever they want, or they can say whatever they want. I'm not on my bike for them. And it shows all the people who have cancer and recovering at the same time. Phenomenal ad, heavily emotional.
Yeah, heavily emotional. And obviously his career came unstuck in various ways. We are all still human beings sitting around a campfire telling stories. I don't care about digital, social, blockchain, AI, GPT-4, whatever it might be. We all have to make that fundamental emotional connection. And your business, if you're a solopreneur sitting at your kitchen table, or whether you've got 20 employees or 100 employees, you're a multi-million-dollar company, turns on the fact as to whether someone will sit down on their computer or in a store, and instead of putting in sneakers, they put in Nike. Or instead of putting in cars, they put in Tesla. And the only way you get to win that consideration set is if you've made an emotional connection to that person. There is something about how that company shows up in the world, or its values and how they align with your values, or something you did that landed with them, or an experience of their product that stayed with you, that made an emotional connection, so you self-select to choose their brand over others. And that is timeless. When someone's sitting at a strip mall and they've got 8 different restaurants to choose from to spend their $12 for lunch or whatever, who do they go to? They go to the one that means something to them. And I think a lot of times these days, technology means that entrepreneurs allow the tail to wag the dog. What am I doing on TikTok? What am I doing on Snapchat? What am I doing on whatever? As opposed to how can I make an emotional connection to someone? I was lucky enough to work in different markets around the world, and I would say that the peak of it was working at Wieden & Kennedy, Nike's ad agency, and it was an interesting environment because everyone has really aspired to be very good at what they do. And what I'm really saying is it was a very competitive place. The account guy or girl would come in and say, hey, here's a brief for a new shoe or for the basketball shoe or whatever it might be, throw it down at the desk and say, do something cool. And in each case, there'd be writers and art directors, and on each project you'd have a different art director, and you'd probably have maybe 4 or 5 projects at once. So you'd be rotating through different art directors, and they'd have different writers on a number of different projects all at once, and we're all pitted against each other for the best work. So it was constantly, relentlessly competitive on multiple fronts at once. And as you could only imagine, when you sit down to do a Nike commercial, you've got to come up with an idea that nobody's ever thought of. And Nike's been doing ads for 25 plus years. Adidas, Asics, everybody. So it's quite the challenge to come up with something that's not only new, but really extraordinary as well. So it was quite the thing. So the average day looked like calm exterior, mild panic on the inside, several cups of coffee, late night work, and just being, lucky enough to be amongst some of the most inspiring, creative people I've ever met in my life.